What should you do if you're pulled over by the police and you are armed? We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but remember, watch this video all the way to the end. We'll give you details on how you could possibly win a free gun. I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content here at the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. I'm here with my good friend, noted criminal defense attorney, Tom Grieve. Tom, you're also a former state prosecutor, are you not?
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, so you probably remember those days. But
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what a responsibly armed American should do when involved in law enforcement contact on a traffic stop. So you're pulled over, you got your gun on your hip or in your shoulder holster or whatever it is, and Officer Friendly, that's me, comes up to the window. How do we handle this?
Well, number one, you got to know your laws. Okay. So some states you have a duty to inform law enforcement if you're carrying, or even perhaps if there's a firearm somewhere in the vehicle, even if it's locked or stored or whatever the case may be. So be aware of what the laws are. USCCA.com/laws with an S at the end. Fantastic map where you can get some of those fantastic details. So number one, know your laws. Number two, what not to do. Maybe that's kind of the easiest way of highlighting some things. Don't lunge. Don't make what officers like to call furtive movements, you know, rustling for things underneath your seat in the center console, things like that. Be calm. You know, my suggestion is make eye contact with law enforcement because they don't know who they're talking to.
Right.
Okay. So, be calm, be respectful, be polite. Ultimately, I'm going to say it's up to you. Speaking as a defense attorney, as to whether or not, assuming that there's no laws that decide that issue for you, but it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not you choose to inform the officer that you're carrying. I know that lots of people will say never do it unless you have to, and I know lots of people who say always do it. I would say that, frankly, it's a personal choice, provided that you're complying with the laws, but always, always, always be respectful. Never make sudden movements. Always keep your hands where law enforcement can see them. If you're going to be going for insurance, ID, that kind of stuff, telling the officer, hey, I'm going to be reaching over here, something like that. Now, look, if you keep your firearm in the glove box, right? If you're glove box carrying, right? Never a good idea unless it's a supplement to what you have on your hip. But if you're glove box carrying, don't open up the glove box without telling that officer. So before I reach officer, I need to tell you, bump, 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 bump. I'm definitely telling them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer that people keep their hands on the steering wheel, keep their hands where I can see them until I ask them to reach for something. Here in the state of Wisconsin, I'm not allowed to ask or research someone if they have a concealed carry permit until I know that they have a firearm at that. So we walk up to the car now. Hi, I'm Officer Michalowski. I pulled you over. You're going a little bit fast tonight. Next question is, do you have any weapons in the car? That's the first thing that we're asking. And invariably, the people who tell me, no, they don't have weapons, when it depends on what their driving record looks like. But I've never had any problem with someone who has said, yes, I have a weapon in the car.
Right.
I have run into problems with people who, swear up and down, nope, there's no weapons in the car. Everything's great. But I prefer people to remain calm and not be moving around a lot until I say, what do you have for me? Do you have your driver's license and your proof of insurance? I can find the registration, through dispatch or on my terminal. So.
Sure. So I outlined my advice, which is number one, comply with the laws, check your local listings. Number two, it's up to you. Truly, the very few times I've been pulled over, I've always identified to the officer the fact of, well, look, I'm carrying.
Here in the state of Wisconsin, if I find you with a firearm, do you have a gun on you? Yes, I do. Okay. I typically say, don't reach for yours and I won't reach for mine.
Right.
Here's what we're going to do. I do, as a law enforcement officer in a lawful law enforcement contact, have the right to take your firearm and take it back to my car and run the serial number and see if it's been listed stolen anywhere. I have never come across a stolen firearm in the hands of somebody with a concealed carry permit who has handed me their driver's license and their concealed carry permit. From a real stop that I made, I shine the flashlight in the car and there's an open box of ammunition and I know the guy sitting in the driver's seat is on probation. And now I have the legal right to take him out of the car and search the car. So I'm going to call for backup, and we're going to do what we call the Badger stop here and search that vehicle. But I want people to know the laws enough to know that they shouldn't be yelling and screaming at me because I'm doing something in accordance with the law.
And to complete that loop there, in Wisconsin, a standard rule of community supervision is that thou shalt not possess any firearms.
Right.
So having ammo there, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with Wisconsin standard rules of community supervision, that's where you're going on that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too I'd add is that law enforcement's trained to look for certain types of movements as being associated with drawing a weapon or something like that. I try to stay up to date with what those are. Not that they exactly change very often, because that's the last kind of movement I need to be making.
Yeah, it's that adjustment of something at the waistband.
Nope.
That's like my standard phrase is that's weird.
Right, that's weird. Let's go back to the tape,
Well,
Johnny.
yeah, what are you doing right there?
Right.
Don't put your hand right there
Yeah.
anymore. But by and large, the law-abiding folks are the ones that I've had the least amount of problems with. Imagine that.
Right.
So,
Imagine that.
Yeah.
And likewise, it's been my experience professionally that the people who tend to be problematic for law enforcement are the ones who do not have a concealed carry license. And that's just been my professional experience. The cases are few and far between where if you went through the training, if you're watching this video, then you're absolutely interested in training and experience, which even puts you in a far higher category of keeping yourself out of trouble and wanting to stay out of trouble and avoid trouble.
Know your laws. Know your
laws.
local listing. When you're dealing with law enforcement and you are armed, first, know your laws and be following them. Second, cooperate. Let the law enforcement officer lead that contact and wait for instructions for that person to. And again, truthfully, no fast, furtive movements or anything like that. That really starts to throw guys like me walking up on a car in the dark a little. What's going on? Stop. Okay. Scroll down a little bit in the description. There will be a link down there. Click on that link, follow the instructions, and you will have the opportunity to win a brand new firearm. If you like these videos, please subscribe to this page, subscribe to this channel, and click that notification bell. We'll notify you every time we come out with a new video. I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content here at the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. Stay safe.